Hello. Thank you for your interest in becoming a New York Safe Boating Instructor. We applaud your commitment to helping us make New York waterways a safer place for everyone. Before your certification can be finalized, you must complete this online training video and pass a multiple choice exam with a score of 90% or better. You can find the link for the exam in the same email that contained the link to this training video. Let's get started. The training course today will review the responsibilities of the Marine Services Bureau, the history of the Safe Boating Education Program, our expectations of all safe boating instructors, and a tutorial on how to use the Event and Certification Management System to register safe boating courses and record your students' certifications. Responsibilities of the Marine Services Bureau. There are several programs that fall under the purview of the Marine Services Bureau. Many of these are funded through a federal grant program administered by the U.S. Coast Guard. We provide training for state and municipal marine law enforcement officers. Our Bureau annually inspects all public vessels that operate on sole state waters in New York. A public vessel is any motorized boat that carries passengers for a fee. This includes ferries, large dinner cruise boats, fishing charters, and ski boats at summer camps. We place, remove, and maintain navigational aids in sole state waters. Of course, we manage the boating safety education program for the state of New York. We engage in public outreach at large and small scale events. We issue permits for regattas and floating objects. We issue hull identification numbers for homemade boats. We serve as the repository for recreational boating accident reporting and administer grant programs for municipalities. About the Safe Boating Education Program. New York was the first state to require boating safety education. Originally, the course was intended to teach basic safety principles and courteous operation to youth operators. In 2019, Brianna's Law was passed requiring safety education for all operators of motorized vessels, regardless of the operator's age. The law was written with a 5-year phase-in period, with requirements for operators of all ages going into effect on January 1st, 2025. The New York Safe Boating course is a classroom-only course that was developed by New York State Parks and approved by the National Association of State Boating Law Administrators. The course and materials undergo regular recertification and review by NASBLA to ensure all national standards are being met. Classroom course options are also available through the U.S. Coast Guard Auxiliary, America's Boating Club, and U.S. Power Boating. The curricula for these classes are approved by NASBLA and recognized by New York State as meeting the requirements for a state safety certificate. In addition to the classroom courses mentioned, recreational boaters have the option of earning their boating safety certificate through select independently developed and managed online courses. These courses are approved by both NASBLA and New York State Parks. Instructor designations. There are 3 different groups of instructors who teach the New York Safe Boating course. Volunteer instructors teach the course free of charge. They do not charge students a fee for instruction. There are 2 instances in which a volunteer instructor may collect money from students. First, they may solicit voluntary donations from students to benefit their host site. This is common when a nonprofit group, such as a volunteer firehouse or VFW, provides the classroom space for no charge. Secondly, if the volunteer instructor is charged a fee to rent a classroom space, the instructor may charge students a room fee to cover the cost of the room rental. Volunteer instructors are covered by New York State workers' comp while teaching safe boating courses. Commercial instructors are individual instructors who charge students an instructional fee for teaching the course. New York State Parks is not involved in business practices of commercial instructors. Commercial instructors are responsible for disclosing their class fee to students in the course listings. Commercial organizations are groups of affiliated commercial instructors who work together to coordinate instruction for students. There is an additional application process to register as a commercial organization. There are also additional annual reporting requirements for commercial organizations. Please contact the Marine Services Bureau for more information if you plan on registering a commercial organization. Course requirements. The New York Safe Boating course requirements are outlined in the New York Navigation Law, as well as New York State Parks Rules and Regulations, 9 NYCRR. The minimum age to participate in a safe boating course and earn a certificate is 10 years old. Students must have attained this minimum age by the start of the course. The training facility utilized by an instructor must meet the following specifications. All courses must take place in a public, non-residential building. This may include a library, school, municipal building, or a business, such as a restaurant. The classroom space must be clean and adequately lit with restroom facilities. It must be capable of seating your students at tables or desks. The course is a minimum of 8 hours in length. This includes a maximum of 1 10-minute break every hour and time allocated for the exam. Frequent 10-minute breaks can be combined into longer, less frequent breaks, such as a 30-minute meal break. To obtain a certificate, students must attend all 8 hours and pass a closed book proctored exam with a score of 76% or better. Instructors may only use materials provided by New York State Parks for the course. Materials may not be modified without permission. This is to ensure that all material presented and any changes meet the NASBL standards. Support for the New York Safe Boating Course program is provided by a grant administered by the U.S. Coast Guard. All materials are provided to instructors free of charge. In addition to the student class materials, this includes instructor guide, lesson plan, PowerPoint presentation, exams, paperwork, grading template, and return envelopes. These materials are available for download on the instructor-only website. Hard copies are available upon request. Expectations of instructors. We will now review expectations of instructors. These expectations are the same for both commercial and volunteer instructors. When teaching the course, you are a representative of New York State. Professional appearance and behavior are always expected. Refrain from actions or speech that could be construed as offensive, inappropriate, profane, racist, sexist, or bigoted. Proper conduct is expected in all interactions with students during the class, not just while presenting. This includes, but is not limited to, break times, times when other instructors are teaching, and periods before and after the class when students are present. If you require further guidance on professional behavior and appearance, please see pages 11 and 12 in your instructor guide. We expect all instructors to abide by all program rules, regulations, and policies. As mentioned earlier, the Safe Boating Education Program is governed by New York State Navigation Law and state rules and regulations. Program policies are outlined in the instructor guide on the instructor-only website. If you have any questions about program policies, you can reach out to the Marine Services Bureau. The New York Safe Boating course is open to all New Yorkers aged 10 and older. We expect instructors to create a productive and welcoming learning environment for all students. This means that instructors must make reasonable accommodations for students with learning disabilities. When students register online, there is a space for them to disclose any accommodations that they may need. Examples of reasonable accommodations include reading test questions aloud to students or providing space quiet away from other students to take the exam. Interpretation services are available through the Marine Services Bureau with prior notice. It can take several weeks to secure an interpreter. If insufficient notice is provided, you may need to refer the student to another course at a later date. The Safe Boating textbook and exam are available in Spanish. If you require these materials in another language, please let us know. Retest policies are at the discretion of the instructor and should be stated at the start of the course. If you allow students to reattempt the exam, the retest should be offered at a later date. Students are not allowed to take exam question sheets, photographs, or other transcripts of exam questions home with them to study from. Students are responsible for their own behavior. There are strategies outlined in your instructor guide for dealing with difficult students. If a student displays a significant lack of responsible behavior, you may dismiss them from the class. Please report any such incidents to the Marine Services Bureau as soon as possible. We expect instructors to remain active in providing safety education. To maintain your certification, we require that all instructors teach a minimum of one class every 2 years. Failure to meet this requirement may result in inactivation of your instructor credential. Instructors are required to submit their annual renewal paperwork each year. Paperwork is completed via a Microsoft form on the instructor-only website. Volunteer instructors must also submit a hand-signed volunteer service agreement. There are additional requirements for commercial organizations. Paperwork for volunteer instructors and commercial individuals is due to our office by March 15th each year. Failure to submit paperwork may result in inactivation of your instructor credential. If your certification expires due to failure to teach the minimum course load, you have a 1-year grace period to register and teach a class to reactivate your certification. The Marine Services Bureau reserves the right to suspend or revoke an instructor's certification for failure to follow the program's guidelines and policies. You will be notified in writing of any suspensions or revocations. Should your certification be suspended or revoked, you have the right to request a hearing with the director of the Marine Services Bureau. We expect all instructors to provide a quality educational experience. The New York Safe Boating course is approved by NASBLA and certified as meeting the national standards required of all safe boating courses. Instructors must follow the provided lesson plan and use only materials provided by New York State Parks. For quality assurance, the Marine Services Bureau reserves the right to audit any class at any time for any reason. Failure to cooperate with an audit or refusing entry to a representative of the Marine Services Bureau may result in suspension or revocation of your instructor credential. Using Event Manager, registering a class. New York State Parks uses the Event Manager platform developed by Calcami Enterprises to manage both instructor-created events as well as student certification records. This system is used by several states for outdoor safety education programs, including boating safety and hunting safety. In this section of the training, we will demonstrate how an instructor uses the system to register a class. Program policies require that instructors register their classes in Event Manager a minimum of 14 days before the class is scheduled to begin. You must register all classes in Event Manager before you advertise them to the public. This includes private classes. There is a required ratio of 1 instructor for every 30 students in the class. A single instructor working alone cannot have more than 30 students in the class. If you have a registered class with a capacity of more than 30 students and you do not have a second instructor listed on your course registration, your course listing will not be activated. For a class to take place, you must have a minimum of 6 students registered. On the day of the course, at least 2 students must show up for the class to take place. One-on-one courses are never permitted. The instructor-only website is a valuable resource for you. Among other things, you will find the link to access Event Manager on the instructor-only website. For this next part of the training, we will walk through how to create a class location and class event using the Event Manager system. If you click on the link to the instructor-only website, you will see that the first link here is to Event Manager. You will click that link, and it will bring you to a page that looks like this. At the conclusion of your certification process, you will receive a hard copy mailing that includes your credentials to access the Event Manager system. For the purposes of this training, we're going to be using a training environment. So you can see at the top of the page, there is a yellow bar that states this is a non-production environment. That just means everything that we do here today is not going to go live to the public. Because this is a training environment, you're going to notice that many of the features move very slowly. In the live environment, everything moves much more quickly. So the first thing to note about Event Manager is that events are based on their location. So the first thing you have to do before you can register a class is create the location in the system. So to do that, we're going to navigate to this globe icon in the center of the page, or we can go to locations at the tab on the top. Either one of these will bring you to that place. When we click Program Locations, first thing we'll be greeted with is a drop-down menu. This program is shared by both the New York Safe Boating and the Snowmobile Safety Education programs. If you are an instructor with permissions for both programs, you will see both programs listed here. If you are only an instructor for the Safe Boating course, only Safe Boating will be here for you. So we're going to select Safe Boating. And it's going to bring us over to our interface here. Okay, so here we have a list of all of the locations that have been used by every instructor in the state for a safe boating course. So you can start by searching to see if the location you already want to use exists. So let's say I wanted to use the Albany Police Station. I can search for that. No locations match, so we can create a new location. You can also search by address, city, and zip code. So if I wanted to search for everything that's in Albany, I can do that. Here's the Albany County Police Station popped up. So if I had secured this space to teach my class, I can just schedule the event here. If I go through everything and I see that the location I want to use has not been created, I'm going to go over here to this tab and click Create Location. It's going to bring up a very simple form to fill in with the information of the space that you're using. So for the purposes of this training, we're going to make up the Boating Safety Cafe, which is located at 123 Main Street. There's a space here for a room. If you know that every time you use the space, you're going to utilize the exact same room, you can fill this field in. Otherwise, I suggest leaving that blank. Put in our city is Albany. Our state is here, New York. Zip code. In the live environment, this gray box on the side is going to tie directly to Google Maps. You will have the option to move the pin that shows up on the map. So sometimes you have a location where when you type in the actual address, Google Maps actually sends you, 100 feet down the block or something like that. So if that's the case, you can actually move the pin on the map so that when students are looking for the location, they have a better idea of exactly where to find it. So in the training environment, this feature doesn't work. In the live environment, do know that that is available for you. Lastly here, we have to fill in the capacity of the space. If I don't know exactly what the capacity is, that's fine. I'm going to put in 30. Why 30? Because 30 students is the maximum number of students I can have in a class if I am teaching by myself. When you create an actual event, you will have the option to override the capacity or make it lower, higher than what you put in here. So just put in 30 or some other number for the sake of creating the location. When you do the event, you'll be able to specify it to that actual class. So I filled in everything that is required. I'm going to hit Create Location. It says my location was successfully created. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to my home page. When you go to your homepage, it's going to look like this. This is the interface you will always see as an instructor. So now that my space is created, I'm going to go to my calendar because now I'm going to choose a date and schedule a class. So I can either hit my event schedule here, or I can do it up here under events. I'm going to use the calendar. And so now I have a couple of different tabs here at the top. I have my events, which is going to show all of the events that I have registered as an instructor or events I'm involved in. If I hit all events, I'm going to be able to see all of the events scheduled by all safe boating instructors across New York State. See that there's a blue circle here and then a gray circle here. If we go to the legend up top, it shows us that for blue indicates you are the primary instructor. If we had some that are purple, it indicates you're an assistant instructor. And then gray indicates you are not an instructor for this event. So where does this become helpful? If you are scheduling an event, so right now I'm trying to plan where I'm going to hold my safe boating course. I might go over here to the 24th of February. I might click on this event. Take a second to come up. And I might see, okay, this is in Long Island. I'm in Albany, so this isn't going to affect me. So that's fine. I can schedule another class on this day without it competing. I might look at the one here on the 23rd. Click on that. It shows this one is also taking place in Albany, so I might not want to schedule a competing event on the same day, so I might choose to schedule it for the 24th. We're at least 2 weeks out, so the 24th is a good date. So when you click on Create Events on your calendar, first thing you're going to do is choose your program. Again, if you have snowmobile permissions, snowmobiling course will show up here as well, but for this, we only have safe boating. Once I click that, a bunch of other fields start to fill in. If I start typing the name of the location that I just created, which was the Boating Safety Cafe, right here. So we see we had a duplicate here, but if I click Boating Safety Cafe in Albany, it will come up. I have an event capacity as 30, which auto-filled from the location. This class, the room's a little tight. I actually only want to have 20 students in that class. There's also the option for a wait list. So the way the wait list works is the system will automatically maintain this for you. In the event that all 20 seats in your class fill up before the class start date, the system will allow up to 8 students or however many you designate here, say 10, to sign up on a wait list. If one of your original registrants cancels their registration in the class, the system will automatically contact the first person on that wait list. It will give them a set time period to accept that empty seat in the class. If they decline it or don't respond within that time frame, it will then move on to the next student on that wait list. So it's a nice feature that is available to you. Before we move down to the About This Event field, I just want to direct your attention to the calendar on the left-hand side. If we look really closely here, we're going to see that the 24th, which is the date we selected, is bold. Now we have to indicate our start and end times for the event. So the course has to be a minimum of 8 hours in length. So here we're going to start do a start time of 8 a.m. And our 8 hours will bring us to 4 p.m. I'm going to click Add Event Date. And I know I've done it correctly if under the current schedule that shows up here. Let's say I don't want to do 8 hours in one shot. That is an option. So let's say I want to do the course spread out over two days over the weekend. So on Saturday, I want to go from 8 until noon. Add that event date. We see our 4-hour block here. And then on Sunday, I'm going to click on the 25th. I'm going to leave that 8 to noon there and hit Add Event Date. And now we see that this event is taking place over 2 days in 4-hour sessions. You can do this in as many sessions as you want. Sometimes school teachers might include the safe boating course as part of their regular curriculum. So you might be spreading this out, in 1-hour blocks over an entire semester, and you would add all of those dates right here. Something to note is that whatever this current schedule is, that's for a single event. So if I wanted to schedule an 8-hour class on every single Saturday in February, I cannot do that by adding those dates here, because what happens is this is indicating this one individual event is taking place over 8 hours on 3 days, and that the person needs to attend all 3 of these. So that is not the way to do multiple events. You need to do one of these forms for each individual event that you are holding. So we're going to go back here and make this again our original event scheduled for the 24th, 8 a.m. to 4 p.m. And the About This Event field, that is going to be a spot for you to put any additional information that's needed for the students. So if there's special instructions, if you have information about what your class cost is going to be, if you are a commercial instructor, this is the place where you would put that information. So if I were a commercial instructor, I might write something to the effect of this class costs $25 per person. Please bring cash on the day of the class. Or something like that. If you have Venmo, if you have a Square store, whatever, you can put that information in the About This Event and or put it in the registration confirmation message. So once somebody chooses to register for your class, they will get an automated message confirming their registration. The standard one has basic information. You registered for this course on this date at this time in this location. And then if you want to add additional information, you can put that here. Please bring a bag lunch. No microwave or fridge on site. Okay. And then just below that, there's a couple of different options here that are important to go over. Our first bullet point here, we see this is a public event, and the word public is hyperlinked. If we click the word public, we come up with two additional options. So public means that it will show up on the public website, and anybody who wishes to can register and attend that event. Our goal in making this course available to as many New Yorkers as possible is to have as many public events as possible. We do understand that there are circumstances in which a class needs to be held for a specific group of people and not open to the public. If you are doing that, you have two options here, either unlisted or private. In 99% of cases, doing this as an unlisted class is going to be your best bet. The reason for that is, with a private event, it is not accessible without a personal invitation, and you must register and invite people manually. So what that means is each individual person that is coming to the event, you need to know their email address to send them this invitation. With that invitation, it's only good for one person. So let's say you're holding it for a Boy Scout troop. And you're sending it to the parents of the scouts, and one of those parents has 2 children in the group. They will not be able to register 2 children unless they get 2 invitations, and you cannot send 2 invitations until the first one has been accepted. So it really becomes an administrative nightmare on your side to use a private event in most cases. If you use an unlisted event, what that does is it is not listed on the public calendar. And what you can actually do is once your event is active, you can take a URL. I'll show you how to find that in just a moment, but there will be a link to send the registration page to students, and anybody with that link can register. So if you are holding a class for a yacht club, and the class is only open to the members of that yacht club, but you don't know the individual members who are going to show up, you can take that link, send it to your coordinator contact at the yacht club. They can post that and distribute it to their members, and then anybody who has that link can register. So use unlisted if you're doing a closed course. Only use private if you know exactly who is coming and you have an email address for each individual person. Okay, for the purposes of this, we're going to go back to doing a public event. You have the choice to edit your visibility and registration windows. As we mentioned earlier, there is a requirement for 6 students registered in order for the class to take place. So you may wish to actually change your registration window to a few days before the class starts, so you know that if you don't meet the minimum, you can cancel the class. So let's say my class is going to take place, it's 8 a.m. on the 24th. I want registrations to close 24 hours before 8 a.m. So registration will close at 8 a.m. After that point, nobody can register, and then I can determine if I met the minimum registration requirements or if I need to cancel the class. Same thing for visibility. Let's say I were booking this class out in July, and I don't really want it to show up on the calendar just yet. There's still some details maybe I need to work out. I might want to edit the about this event or something like that. I can change the visibility window so that it's not visible on the calendar until later on. Same thing for cancellations. You can set a time by which students are no longer able to cancel their registration. If you are utilizing the waitlist feature, I do not recommend changing the ability. So do not allow cancellations. If you're going to use the waitlist, make sure that you are allowing cancellations. Otherwise, that waitlist function will not work. You also have the option to receive notifications every time a student registers or cancels their registration. Right now, they are disabled. I do not want to receive an email every time, but if I do, I would just click on the link for disabled, and it would say, yes, please send notifications by email to whatever your email address on file associated with your account is. Same thing for cancellations. Okay, so I filled everything in here. I'm just going to double check. I've got my current schedule. It's 8 hours. We're 2 weeks out from our current date. My event capacity is 30 students or less. I'm going to scroll down to the bottom and hit Create Event. I'll take just a moment here. Okay, so you'll see on the top, your event was successfully created. What happens after that is this generates an email to the Marine Services Bureau to let us know that your event creation was submitted. What we then have to do is go into the admin side and activate the event. So generally, this happens within 2 or 3 business days of you submitting your course registration. So once we activate it, it will show up on the calendar. This is not a screen you will see. This is because we're in an admin account. Go back to our instructor homepage here. I'm just going to point out a couple of other things. We see here under my upcoming events that I have 2 classes that are coming up, one on the 17th and one on the 24th, the one that we just created. If I go over here to my event on the 17th, I'm going to click on the hyperlink for New York Safe Boating Course. I'm going to point out a couple of other features that you can see for your upcoming classes. So we see here already that this event, I have 3 students already registered. It looks like a family, David, Patricia, and Sally Pontoon. I mentioned earlier that you can see some information about students when they register. So the way you would do that to see a little bit more information about these students, in the upper right-hand corner here, we have a download button. If you click on download, you have a couple of options. Roster page as a CSV, which is an Excel file, all registration details as an Excel file, and then an extended roster as a PDF. What we're going to click on is all registration details. You can see here our Excel file downloaded. I'm going to open that up. We're going to be able to see a little bit more information about David, Patricia, and Sally that it's going to help us prepare for teaching our course. Here. Okay, so we have their general, address, date of birth, and all of that information. But if we scroll all the way over, we can see that there is a vessel type. So the student can indicate what sorts of vessels they have experience operating. So it's like we have some motorized boaters, and then one of them has experience on personal watercraft and sailboats as well. We can see how experienced they are if they filled this out. So we see one of them has 0 to 10 hours, not very experienced. Another one a little bit more, but not a ton of experience. And then a very experienced boater here as well. And then we also have the field. Those accessibility needs. So we see here for our one student, they wrote that this student receives extra test time in school and benefits from having exam questions read to them. So I know this ahead of time, so now I can plan for it, so I'm not surprised when I walk into my course that day of. Other things you might see in here are requests for sign language interpreters and things like that. So it's really great for you to check on this prior to your class starting. And again, we did that from download all registration details as a CSV. The other thing we mentioned how you can send links to register for your classes. So this one here is a public event, but even if it was unlisted, I would follow the same process. So I go here to public view, that little eyeball. When I click that, it's going to bring me to a registration page. This is not public. So what you would do is just grab the URL from your browser up here. I can copy and paste it into an email and then send that to whoever I want to register. And then they would receive that link. It would bring them to this page, and then they can register using the green Register Now button. If it is unlisted, when they get to the end, of this page, filling in all of their information, when they go to next, it will give them the option to add another registration. So if you're sending it to a family or somebody that's registering for a group of people, they will be able to do that with that link. Okay, back 2 screens here. Okay. All right, so here we are back at our home page. In the event that you need to cancel an event after it was activated, the system will not allow you to make those cancellations. So if that is something that you need, you will need to contact the Marine Services Bureau. Just send an email with your name, the date of the course, and letting us know that it needs to be canceled, and we'll remove it from the calendar. Requesting class materials. Once you have registered your class, you will need to request your class materials. Class materials are provided to all instructors free of charge. We require that you request the materials a minimum of 2 weeks prior to your class start date. We're unable to guarantee delivery of materials requested with less than 2 weeks lead time. You are welcome to request a small supply of extra materials. You will keep any unused materials in your possession for future courses. Do not send them back to the Marine Services Bureau. Material requests are completed online using the Microsoft Forms link on the instructor-only website. We'll navigate to that website now to show you where to find that form, and then we'll review the materials you need for your class. And click this link. That brings us to the instructor-only website. As we saw before, the link for Event Manager and registering our classes is here. There is a training video as well for how to use that Event Manager system, as well as support and a user guide from Calcame. If we go down a little bit further, we see right here, order materials here. We click the link. It's going to bring us to a Microsoft form. It's very straightforward. It's going to say, when do you need your materials by? So you're going to put your class date in here. The reason we need your class date is that helps us to prioritize which orders need to go out if we are waiting on a shipment to come in from our warehouse. So my class is on February 24th, 2024. Put in your name, your instructor number. You will get this in your mailed packet along with your event manager credentials. And then it's going to ask you how many of each piece you need. We're going to go over exactly what these are in just a moment, but you just type in a number, 30, whatever that may be. You also have spots for your Spanish materials. We will have your mailing address on file, but in the event that you want your materials shipped to an address other than the one that's on file, you can put that in this field here and then hit submit. Okay. Materials request was successfully submitted. This comes to our office and we'll be able to fulfill that request out of our office. We typically ship materials about once a week, maybe twice a week in the summertime. So now we're going to review what the class materials are. So the student record form is the legal record of a student attending a safe boating course. It is a 2-part carbon copy form. The first part is a small white piece. This is a student's temporary certificate and should be given to every student who passes the course. The temporary certificate is valid for 90 days and serves as proof of a safe boating certificate while the student is awaiting the arrival of their permanent certificate. There is a $10 charge payable directly to New York State Parks for all students aged 18 and older for their permanent certificate. There are payment instructions on the back of the temporary certificate. Instructors are never permitted to collect the $10 fee on behalf of students. There is no charge for the permanent certificate for students under 18 years of age. The second pink part of the student record form is the official record of class attendance and exam. Instructors will return the pink form to New York State Parks with their class paperwork. Students are never permitted to leave the class with this part of the form, including photos, copies, or other transcripts. If a student fails the exam, the instructor will retain both the white and pink copies of the form and return them to New York State Parks with their class paperwork. The class roster or attendance sheet is also a two-part carbon copy form. This is a summary of your class results. The white copy of the form serves as a cover sheet for your hard copy paperwork and is mailed back to New York State Parks. The yellow copy serves as your file copy. We ask instructors to retain these records for 5 years from course completion. In the event that your hard copy class paperwork is lost in the mail, we may call upon you to produce a copy of this yellow form, so please keep it in an easily accessible place. We provide prepaid business reply envelopes for your class paperwork. Please note that business reply mail can take 30 or more days to be delivered to us. As such, it is imperative that you return your course paperwork to us as soon as possible, and no more than 5 days after course completion. A student's record is not activated and permanent certificates cannot be issued until hard copy paperwork is received. Therefore, delays in sending paperwork to us can result in student temporary certificates expiring before the permanent card is issued. Exam question books are provided for this course. The exam is a 50 multiple choice question exam. It's available in Spanish as well as English. Both A and B versions are available. You must specifically request version B. This is generally used when you administer a retest. Students may not keep the exam question book. Please destroy these after they are used. This is the only textbook that is approved for use with the Safe Boating course. Spanish version is also available. Using Event Manager and entering results. Before sending your classroom paperwork back to New York State Parks, you must enter your class results in Event Manager. This is an important step as Event Manager ties to the Certification Manager portion of the system that issues permanent cards to students. If student results are not entered, a certificate cannot be issued to the student. In this section, we will walk you through how to correctly enter class results. Before you can enter class results, you will need to grade the student exams. Overlay your grading template so that the rectangle on the template overlays the black box on the answer sheet portion of the student record form. The open circles correlate to the correct exam answers. Students should mark their chosen answer using an X rather than circling. You can then fill in the circles for every instance where an X a student marked does not align with the correct answer. Each question is worth 2 points. Now that you've graded the exam, you can enter your results in Event Manager. We will also demonstrate how to add walk-in students, remove no-show students, and add assisting instructors to your event. All right, apologies for the delay. The screen froze. Okay. So to enter our results, we have to find our classes that have already finished. So we're going to go over here to the yellow notepad on the right-hand side for My Event Results. Click on that. We can see all of these classes results were submitted. These have gone away. These have been completed. We see we have 3 active courses here. So one took place on the 17th of January, one was on the 6th, and one will be on the 17th of February. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to click on this event that was on February 6th. Okay. So on yours, you're going to see just this registration results box. This instructor information box is just a bug in the training environment. So what you'll do is you'll see incomplete. You're going to click this edit button. We're going to see all of our students that registered. So we had Joe Boater, Larry Jet Ski, Katie Kayak, Kenneth Kayak, Salvatore Sailor, and Samantha Sailor. For each student, we're going to input 4 different pieces of information. So for Joe Boater, we see, did he attend all class sessions? Yes or no? Joe was a good student. He was there the whole time. What was the final grade he attained on the exam? Star pupil, he got 100. So now we input our course results. We have pass, fail, did not complete, or denied certificate underage. In this case, Joe passed. You would use did not complete if you had a multi-session course, a course that took place over more than one day, and the student attended some sessions, but not all of them, so they did not complete the course. Denied certificate underage, you would only utilize this if a student registered, and then when they arrived, they were not of age to take the class. So we're going to put in fail for Joe. Pass for Joe. Certification number. This number is printed in the bottom right-hand corner of the student record form. It's going to be comprised of a letter and then 6 numerical digits. The correct way to input your certificate number is with a capital letter and no space between the letter and the numbers. All right, so we're going to move down to Larry Jetski. Let's say Larry never showed up to the class. He registered but didn't show up. All I have to do is go over here and click Remove Registration. So now he's off my list. In just a second. Okay, so we see Larry Jetski has been removed from the event. And now we have to fill in the rest of our students. Katie Kayak, she was there for the whole session. She didn't do so great on this test. She got a 66, so that is a failing grade. We're going to put in fail. So since she is not being issued a safe boating certificate, we are not going to input the number from her student record form. So we're going to leave that blank for students who failed. Kenneth Kayak did a little bit better. He got an 88, so he is passed. And his certificate number. Salvatore Sailor. Samantha Sailor did not show up to all class sessions. So let's say this was a multi-day event. She only showed up for day 1, so she did not. Final grade is a 0 because she didn't take the test. Her course result is did not complete. And again, we're going to leave certification number blank because she didn't show up, or she's not being issued a certificate. Let's say Salvatore Sailor brought his brother to the class, and his brother, Harold Sailor, did not register ahead of time. We're going to go up to the top. We're going to see that we have an add registration option. So we're going to click that. And then using the information that Harold provided on his pink student record form, we're going to just manually input him. So here we have Harold Sailor. We'll have his date of birth. And we'll have he was a walk-in. There's his address. It will autofill your city based on the zip code. have his phone number. Additional information. So if Harold is under 18 years old, the parent and guardian information will be filled out on the student record form. In this case, Harold is an adult, so we're just going to put self for all three of these fields. You won't have information like this from Harold, so we'll just leave the vessel types and hours of experience and accessibility needs blank. Eye color will be on your form, so we're going to fill that in. Harold has blue eyes. We won't have an email address here, so we're going to hit no for confirmation email, create new registration. Oh, and we had an error here. We put in an incorrect phone number. Create that registration. And once again, in the live environment, this will move much quicker. Okay, and now we see that Harold is on our roster. I'm going to go back to enter results. You can see here that the status is waiting for instructors to submit results. We see our registration results are incomplete. I'm going to hit that edit button again. See the highlighted fields, and if we scroll down, we'll see that that is for Harold. And we'll just put in his results here. And save. All right, so now I've made sure that all of my students are on my roster. All of my results are inputted. My certification number is comprised of a letter followed by 6 digits with no space in between the letter and the numbers. See, my results are completed. In this case, in the training environment, it's not going to let me move to the next screen, but what you would normally do is click this green review and submit button. It's going to give you a list summarizing everything that you just entered. You're going to check it over one more time, and then in the bottom left-hand corner will be a blue button that says submit. So this is not, you're not truly complete until you've hit review and submit, reviewed your results, and then hit the blue submit button. The last thing I'll show you is how to add an assisting instructor. You can do that for classes at the time of entering results or for upcoming ones. So let's say at my upcoming class on the 24th, I have another instructor coming in to assist me. So I'll click on that. And we'll see on the right-hand side, I don't have any students signed up for this yet. But if I wanted to add or remove the instructor, I'll go over here and I click on that. And so it says here that I am the primary instructor. I have a favorite instructor designated, or I can add another instructor. So this is going to be a list of all instructors that exist in the Safe Boating education system. So you can search for them by name, by any of this other information, but generally name, you would know the person you're looking for. Once you choose that person, you're going to click the box next to their name, scroll on down, and with selected instructor, you're going to hit assign and go. And once you do that, we'll see that they've been added up here. If you have somebody from your favorites, you can click on them from your favorites, add, remove from favorites. You can send them an email. I can make them the primary instructor if I'd like to, or I can remove them. All right, so that's all for entering our results. So your class is completed, you've graded your test, you've entered your results in Event Manager. Now you have to mail your paperwork back to New York State Parks. So you're going to mail everything to us within 7 days of course completion. So what exactly are you mailing? The white copy of your course roster or attendance sheet, the student record form. So for every student who passed, you'll be mailing back a pink copy. For students who failed, you'll have the pink copy with the white temporary certificate still attached to it. You will not return your unused materials. So if you expected 30 students, you have 30 student record forms, only 20 students show up, you're going to keep those 10 unused student record forms in your possession to use for future courses. Those serial numbers are assigned to you, so do not return them. Just for a visual, this is what your envelope should look like. Your white roster, pinks for every student who passed, and then whites with pinks attached for students who failed. Using Event Manager, other features. There's some additional features in Event Manager that help you to interact with your students. We are going to review how you can email your roster of students, how to send a link for the private events. We showed that a little bit earlier. How to move your students to another event, and how to cancel your course. All right, so going back to Event Manager. You want it to email your roster. So let's look at our event on 17th. So we see we had our 3 students here, David, Patricia, and Sally Pontoon. Let's say that the room has changed. The room that we were originally holding it at in the library changed last minute, so now I need to let everybody know. What I would do is I would click right here for everybody. The checkbox next to each student is highlighted. Go to this drop-down menu, and I have the option of email, move to a new event, or remove from event. So if I want to send an email, I'll do that. I'll click go. And then I can write whatever information I need to impart to my students. And I have the option to send myself a copy of that email. Let's say Sally called and was like, oh, I really want to take a safe boating course, but I'm not going to make it on the 17th. Do you have another class? Turns out we have a class registered on the 24th. So if I want to move Sally to that class on the 24th, I'm going to click the box next to her name. I'm going to go to my drop-down menu here, move to new event, and hit go. Now what is going to happen on this next screen is I'm actually going to get a drop-down list of every single safe boating course that is available in the state. So you can move a student to another instructor's class. Unfortunately, there is not a way to filter just for your events, but in this case, I'm going to click this drop-down. This is the training environment, so there are not a lot of events here, but I'm going to move Sally to my Saturday, February 24th class. She will get this message. If I don't put any additional information, it will just say new event information with the location, the date, and the time. And then she has the option to edit her registration. Okay. And if we don't have another course date that works well for Sally, and we just need to remove her from the event, we can click that checkbox, go to our drop-down menu, and just remove her from the event. And we'll see here in just a moment. Yes, remove registration. Okay, now we see we just have 2 students on our registration. When you go to your event, you're going to see that there is an unschedule and remove option. This is a false feature. If you click on this, it's going to give you a message that says, please contact an administrator to cancel your event. So as we mentioned earlier, if you do need to cancel an event for some reason, you can email your roster to let your students know that the event is being canceled, and then send us an email, boating@parks.ny.gov, and we will remove the event from the calendar for you. Earlier, we reviewed how to send the link for a private event. Just one more time, I will review that. If I wanted to send the link for this event, I would go to Public View. I'm going to pull that URL from the browser. Student interface. For our final section of training, we're going to walk you through what the student experience of registering for a course, paying for their safe boating certificate, and applying for the adventure license looks like. So signing up for a course, Register Ed is the student-facing side of Event Manager. I'm going to click on that, see what that looks like. So if you go to the Parks website, New York State Parks, parks.ny.gov, get active and go to the boating page, you'll see right here in the middle is the link for finding a safe boating class. It's also on the boating education page right at the top. Click here to find a safe boating course. It'll bring you to this page. Students have the option to filter the events by their zip code. You will be able to see for each event the date, how many seats are available, the location, date, and time. So if a student finds one that they think works for them, so let's say this one at the Fairport Library on the 17th, they'll click View Event. There'll be all of the information that the instructor provided, and if they decide that they want to do that, they can hit the Register Now button, and it will give them the option to fill in all of their information to register for that event. So it's very simple from the student side. Paying for a boating safety certificate. As we mentioned earlier, there's a $10 charge for certificates for students 18 years of age and older. Once your paperwork is received by our office and the events are approved, students who registered with an email address will receive an email with instructions, and the instructions are also on the back of their temporary certificate. It's going to direct students to go to ilostmycard.com. This is the interface for purchasing both original and duplicate cards. So if a student took a course in the past and can no longer find their certificate, they can use this website to purchase their certificate. So a very simple interface again. You're going to go and you're going to search by the state in which you were certified. In this case, it is New York. The certification type. So boating, hunting, snowmobiling. This is boating. Hit continue. And then the student just has to input their first and last name and their date of birth. Hit the search button. Their record will come up, and then they'll follow the prompts to pay with a credit card. Right, you may be familiar with the Adventure License Program. So this is a program through the DMV, which allows you to add a lifetime certification to your driver's license in the form of an icon. So boating safety, hunting safety, muzzle loading, lifetime fishing licenses, things like that. The way to do this is either bring your boating safety certificate directly to DMV, or you can do it online at this website. Something that's worth noting is that other states are not required to recognize the New York State Adventure License as proof of a boating safety certificate. So if you are boating out of state or in areas where it is joint jurisdiction, you should carry your original boating safety certificate, not the driver's license. If you are boating in sole state waters, the driver's license will serve as proof of a boating safety certificate. When you go to the shop.ny.gov boating safety website for your adventure license, you can only do this once you've received your original or your permanent certificate. So it's a very easy page. You have two options with the adventure license. You can receive a new ID immediately. If you do, that is an additional $12.50. That is DMV's fee for printing a new license, with an additional $1 convenience transaction fee. If you want to wait for the next time that your license renews, you can click the No button, and then there's no additional charge. So you just won't get a new ID with the icon until your next regularly scheduled renewal. In both cases, what you're going to do is just put in your name, your email address, the type of document, so driver's license, learner permit, or non-driver ID. You'll put your DMV client ID, your date of birth, and then your certificate number, including that letter. What's really important here is that the name you input matches exactly what's on your boating safety certificate. So if your name is David and you put Dave on your boating safety certificate, if you put David in this field, it's not going to find your record and it's going to throw an error. So that's why wait until you have your permanent certificate, and then you'll be able to process the transaction. Next steps, completing your instructor certification. So you must pass the open book exam with a 90% or higher score. Exam questions are going to include a mix of questions related to New York State boating laws, as well as questions related to program administration. Use the information learned in this training, your knowledge of boating, as well as your instructor guide and lesson plans to help you. The exam is online, and the link to the exam is included in the email that hosted the link to this training video. After your exam is graded, if you pass, you will receive a mailing with your event manager login information, your plastic grading template, a course flash drive, some forms to sign and return with a business reply envelope, and your instructor card. You will also receive an email from New York State listserver informing you that you've been added to the Boating Safety Instructor email distribution list. We utilize this distribution list to keep instructors apprised of new regulations and other things pertaining to the Safe Boating Education Program. Remember that we're here to help. Feel free to email or call us at any time at boating@parks.ny.gov or at 518-408-1028. Thank you.